Most people alive today have never heard these old tricks, and that's a shame, because every one of them still works. These are the small, strange, cheap fixes Grandpa used for years, long before anyone paid a repairman for a job this simple. Freeze a wet sponge in a bag for a custom ice pack. Did you know that you can make a better ice pack than the one in the store using a plain kitchen sponge? Soak a sponge in water, seal it in a sandwich bag, and lay it flat in the freezer overnight. Once frozen, the sponge stays flexible instead of turning into a hard, solid block the way a bag of ice cubes does. Press it against a sore knee or a bumped elbow, and it molds gently to the shape instead of poking into the skin with sharp corners. Tie eyeglasses to a shoelace so they never get lost. Glasses that get set down and forgotten are one of the most common small frustrations of the day. Tie a plain shoelace or a length of cord to each arm of the eyeglasses, then wear them around your neck when they're not on your face. This way the glasses are always exactly where you left them, hanging in plain sight instead of buried under a newspaper or slid between couch cushions. It costs nothing but an old shoelace, and it ends the daily hunt for good. Slide a tennis ball onto each cane tip. A cane that catches on carpet or drags on rough pavement can throw off your balance in an instant. Cut a small slit into an old tennis ball and press it firmly onto the rubber tip of the cane so the ball surrounds the base like a little shoe. A trick Grandpa picked up from an old golf buddy years before either of them ever needed a cane. The tennis ball glides smoothly over carpet, gravel, and uneven sidewalks instead of catching or sticking the way a bare rubber tip can. Replace the ball once it wears through, and the cane moves noticeably smoother from that day on. Glue a wine cork to the bottom of a wobbly cane. A cane that's slightly shorter on one side makes every step feel unsteady. Slice a wine cork to the right thickness and glue it to the bottom of the shorter leg or tip, trimming it flush once the glue has set. The cork evens things out and adds a bit of natural grip on smooth floors that plain rubber alone doesn't always provide. This same trick works on a wobbly chair or table leg using the exact same cork and glue. Keep a metal spoon in the freezer for quick bumps. Did you know that you can soothe a small bump or bruise faster with something already sitting in your kitchen drawer? Keep a metal spoon in the freezer at all times. The cold metal draws heat away from the skin quickly, and the smooth curve fits comfortably against an elbow, shin, or forehead, better than a bag of ice ever could. Rinse it off and pop it right back in the freezer, ready for the next time. Stick Velcro on the remote and the chair arm. A television remote has a way of disappearing into the couch cushions the moment you set it down. A problem Grandpa complained about for years before he ever solved it. Press a small strip of Velcro onto the back of the remote and a matching strip onto the arm of your favorite chair. Now the remote sticks to the chair arm every time you set it there, instead of sliding off or slipping between cushions. It takes less than a minute to set up, and it ends one of the most common little frustrations of the day for good. Cut a pool noodle to pad a sharp table corner. A sharp table corner at hip height is an easy thing to walk into, especially in a room you're moving through quickly. Slice a pool noodle lengthwise and press it over the corner of a coffee table or counter edge, securing it with a bit of tape on the underside. The foam softens any bump against that corner considerably, turning a painful knock into barely a nudge. Pool noodles cost only $1 or $2 and can be trimmed to fit any edge in the house. Mount a magnetic strip under a shelf for metal tools. Digging through a cluttered drawer for scissors or tweezers gets old fast. Stick a magnetic strip, the kind sold for holding kitchen knives, to the underside of a cabinet or shelf at a comfortable height. Metal scissors, tweezers, and small tools cling right to the strip and stay in plain view instead of sliding to the back of a drawer. Reaching for what you need becomes a quick grab instead of a search every single time. Loop a rubber band around a drinking glass for grip. A wet glass can slip right out of a hand that's not gripping quite as firmly as it used to. Wrap 2 or 3 thick rubber bands around the middle of a drinking glass, spacing them evenly apart. The rubber adds texture and grip exactly where fingers wrap around the glass, making it far less likely to slide loose even with wet or soapy hands. It costs nothing and takes seconds to set up on every glass in the cupboard. Clip a binder clip to a walker to hold a bag. Carrying a small bag while using a walker usually means awkwardly balancing it somewhere it doesn't belong. Clip a large binder clip onto the front bar of the walker, then hook the handles of a small shopping or grocery bag through the metal wire arms of the clip. This frees up both hands for the walker itself, while keeping essentials close and secure. The same trick works for hanging a light jacket or an umbrella during a short walk. Slide a pool noodle over a stair railing. Did you know that you can make a stair railing far easier to grip using nothing but a foam pool noodle? Slice the noodle open along one side, then press it over the railing so it wraps around the wood or metal like a padded sleeve. The extra thickness and soft texture make gripping the railing far easier for hands with arthritis or reduced strength. Tape the seam closed every so often as it loosens, and the padded rail holds up for an entire season at a time. Turn an old Lazy Susan into a fridge shelf. Reaching to the back of a deep refrigerator shelf means straining or fishing around blindly for a jar that's rolled out of sight. Set an old Lazy Susan turntable, the kind once common on dinner tables, onto a fridge shelf and load condiments in small jars on top of it. Spin the turntable to bring anything on it to the front instead of reaching in and shifting jars around by hand. It's the same trick Grandpa used in the pantry for years before anyone thought to sell one made specifically for a fridge. Rub a bar of soap inside a squeaky drawer track. A drawer that squeaks and sticks every time it opens puts more strain on the shoulder than it should. Rub a plain bar of soap directly along both wooden runners on the sides of the drawer, coating them with a thin layer. Slide the drawer in and out a few times to work the soap into the grain, cutting down the friction causing both the squeak and the stick. The fix usually holds for months before it needs another pass of the same bar of soap. Stick glow tape on every light switch. Fumbling for a light switch in a pitch-dark room is how a lot of nighttime stumbles happen. Press a small strip of glow-in-the-dark tape directly around or above every light switch in the house. The tape soaks up light during the day and glows softly after dark, marking exactly where the switch sits without needing to feel blindly along the wall. It's a 5-minute job for the whole house and never needs batteries or a plug. Tape a paint stick to a shoehorn. Bending down to help a shoe slide on is harder on the back and knees than it used to be. Tape a leftover wooden paint stirring stick to the handle end of a shoehorn, extending its overall length by a foot or more. This lets you slide a shoe on while standing upright, instead of bending all the way down to reach your foot. It's a free fix using two things most people already have sitting in a garage or closet. Cut a flip-flop sole into a jar gripper. A slippery jar lid is no match for a scrap piece of rubber. Cut a small square from an old flip-flop sole, one that's headed for the trash anyway, and use it to grip a stubborn jar lid while twisting, a trick Grandpa always said worked better than any jar opener sold in a store. The textured rubber grips both the lid and your hand far better than skin alone ever could against smooth glass or metal. Keep the scrap square tucked in a kitchen drawer, and it becomes the first thing you reach for the next time a lid won't budge. Clip a bag of chips shut with a binder clip. Rolling down the top of an open bag never seems to keep it as fresh as it should. Fold the top of the bag over twice, then clamp a binder clip across the fold to seal it shut completely. The clip holds far more tightly than a rolled fold alone, keeping air out and crackers or chips fresh for days longer. Keep 2 or 3 clips in a kitchen drawer just for this, since they work on cereal bags and frozen vegetable bags just as well. Tape a magnifying mirror near the medicine cabinet. Reading the tiny print on a pill bottle gets harder every year, even with the lights on. Mount a small magnifying mirror or a flat magnifying sheet on the inside of the medicine cabinet door, right where the light is usually best in the house. Open the cabinet, hold the bottle up to it, and the print becomes instantly easier to read without hunting the house for a magnifying glass. It's a one-time fix that pays off every single day after. Slide rubber shelf liner under the bath mat. A bath mat that slides on a wet tile floor defeats its entire purpose. Cut a piece of rubber shelf liner, the grippy kind meant for lining kitchen cabinets, to match the size of the bath mat and slip it underneath. The liner grips the tile floor far more firmly than the mat's backing alone, keeping the whole thing locked in place even on a soaking wet floor. It costs only a couple of dollars for a roll big enough to fit under every mat in the house. Hang a small bell from the cane handle. Did you know that you can make a cane useful for more than just walking with a single small bell? Tie a small jingle bell to the handle or wrist strap of a cane, the kind commonly found on a spool of craft supplies. The soft jingle lets a family member or neighbor in another room know exactly where you are and that you're up and moving around. It's a small comfort for anyone living alone, letting someone else notice right away if the sound suddenly stops for too long. Wedge a wooden spoon in a window track. A window that's painted shut or hard to budge doesn't always need force to open. Rub the handle end of a wooden spoon along the window track first to help it slide, and once open, wedge the spoon itself into the track to prop the window at a fixed height for airflow. The wood is sturdy enough to hold the window open safely without the risk of it slamming shut in a sudden breeze. It's the same trick Grandpa used on every window that stuck through a humid summer. Loop an old belt onto a heavy drawer. A heavy drawer that's hard to pull open by its small handle strains the wrist more than it should. Loop an old leather belt through the drawer handle and knot it, leaving a longer loop hanging free that's easier to grip and pull with a whole hand or forearm. This spreads the pulling force across more of the arm, instead of relying on just the fingers gripping a small metal handle. It works especially well on heavy dresser drawers and old wooden chests that have swelled slightly with age. Rub a dryer sheet over a dusty lampshade. Dust seems to settle right back onto a lampshade minutes after it's been wiped clean. Rub a used dryer sheet gently over the surface of the lampshade instead of a plain dry cloth. The slight anti-static coating left on a used sheet picks up dust more effectively and also slows how quickly new dust resettles afterward. The same trick works on television screens and baseboards. Anywhere dust seems to collect the fastest, tape a flashlight under every cabinet. Fumbling through a drawer for a flashlight during a power outage wastes precious time in the dark. Tape a small flashlight switched off to the underside of a cabinet in the kitchen, bedroom, and bathroom, so one is always exactly where you'd expect it. The moment the lights go out, your hand already knows where to reach without groping through a junk drawer first. Check the batteries every few months so it's never dead exactly when it's needed most. Glue felt pads to the bottom of every chair leg. Dragging a chair across a hard floor is loud, and it's harder to push than it should be. Glue a small felt pad to the bottom of each chair leg, the same kind sold for furniture in any hardware store, exactly what Grandpa used on every chair and table leg he ever owned. The felt lets the chair slide smoothly and quietly across the floor instead of catching or scraping with every push. It's a small fix that makes every chair in the house easier to move without needing to lift it at all. Clip a shower curtain shut with a binder clip. Water sneaking past the edge of a shower curtain turns the bathroom floor into a slipping hazard. Clip a binder clip over the overlapping edge of the curtain and the tub wall, sealing the gap where water usually escapes. This holds the curtain firmly against the tub in a way a loose curtain simply can't manage on its own. It's a fix that costs nothing and takes 10 seconds to set up before every shower. Wrap a sponge around a cane handle for a better grip. A thin metal or wooden cane handle can dig into the palm on a long walk. Cut a slit into a kitchen sponge and slide it over the handle of the cane, securing it with a rubber band or a bit of tape at each end. The sponge adds cushion and width, spreading the weight of each step across more of the palm instead of one narrow point. Replace the sponge once it flattens out and the cane feels noticeably more comfortable to lean on. Store spare batteries in an egg carton by size. Did you know that you can turn a leftover egg carton into the perfect battery organizer, the same trick Grandpa used in his workshop for decades? A junk drawer full of loose batteries makes finding the right size a small chore every time. Sort spare batteries by size into the individual cups of an empty egg carton. This keeps every size sorted and visible at a glance instead of digging through a tangle of mismatched batteries. It costs nothing beyond a carton you were already going to recycle anyway. Turn a muffin tin into a pill and button sorter. Small pills, buttons, and screws have a way of scattering the moment they're set down loose. Use an empty muffin tin as a sorting tray, giving each cup its own category, whether that's daily medication, spare buttons, or small screws from around the house. The deep, separate cups keep everything from rolling together or spilling the way a flat dish would. It's an old kitchen item doing a second job it was never designed for, and doing it well. Tuck a silica packet in the toolbox to stop rust. Metal tools left in a garage or shed. Pick up rust faster than most people realize. Save the small silica gel packets that come packed inside new shoes or vitamin bottles, and drop a few into the toolbox instead of throwing them away. The packets absorb the extra moisture in the air that causes tools to rust over time sitting unused. Replace them every few months, and tools stored this way stay noticeably cleaner and rust-free for years longer. Loop a shower curtain ring onto a walker for a bag. A small shower curtain ring makes a surprisingly handy hook. Clip one onto the front bar of a walker or the side of a wheelchair and hang a small bag, a set of keys, or a pair of reading glasses from it. The ring opens and closes easily, even with reduced hand strength, unlike a stiff carabiner or a tight knot. It keeps small essentials within reach without needing an extra hand to carry them separately. Rub wax on a sticky window track. A window that drags every time you try to open it usually just needs a bit of help sliding. Rub a plain candle along the length of the window track, then work the window back and forth a few times to spread the wax evenly. The thin coating cuts down the friction between the window and the track, enough to make opening it far easier. Reapply once a season on windows that tend to stick again as the weather shifts. Fold a sock over a doorknob to muffle a slam. A door that slams shut in a draft is startling, especially in a quiet house. Slip an old sock over the doorknob on the side that swings toward the frame, cushioning the impact if a breeze catches the door unexpectedly. This softens both the sound and the force of the slam without needing to install a proper doorstop. It's a simple fix using something already destined for the rag pile. Slide a rubber jar gripper onto every cabinet knob. Small, smooth cabinet knobs can be surprisingly hard to grip with wet or soapy fingers. Slip a thin rubber jar gripping sheet cut into a small square around each knob and secure it with a dab of glue on the underside. The texture gives fingers something to properly catch instead of sliding right off a smooth, rounded knob. It's a small fix, but one that makes every cabinet in the kitchen just a little easier to open. Loop a twist tie around a loose faucet aerator. A faucet aerator that's worked itself loose can drip or spray water sideways instead of straight down. Wrap a sturdy wire twist tie tightly around the base of the aerator just below the threads to add a bit of extra grip and tension. This often holds it snug enough to stop the wobble until a proper replacement part is picked up. It's a temporary trick, but one that solves an annoying problem using something already sitting in a kitchen drawer. Rub chalk on a squeaky bed frame joint. A bed frame that creaks with every small movement makes for a restless night. Rub a piece of plain chalk directly into the metal or wood joints where the frame connects, right at the spot where the squeak seems to be coming from. The chalk works into the tiny gap and cuts down the friction causing the noise, the same way it works on a squeaky door hinge. Reapply every so often as the chalk wears away and the bed stays quiet for weeks at a time. Keep a rubber doorstop by every room's door. A door that swings shut on its own can startle you or catch a finger if it closes at the wrong moment. Keep a simple rubber wedge doorstop by the door of every room used regularly, propping the door open whenever you're inside. This keeps a clear, open path in and out of every room without needing to fuss with the door each time. It's an inexpensive habit that removes one more small daily annoyance from the house. Wrap a rubber band around a pen for easier grip. A thin pen can be surprisingly hard to hold steady with hands that tire quickly. Wrap several thick rubber bands around the barrel of a pen or pencil, building up a wider, softer grip than the plastic alone provides. This spreads the pressure of writing across more of the hand, making note-taking or filling out a form far less tiring. It costs nothing and takes seconds to fix on every pen in the house. Slide a tennis ball under a chair leg to stop scuffing. Dragging a heavy chair across the floor scuffs the flooring and takes real effort to push. Cut a small slit into a tennis ball and press it over the bottom of each chair leg, the same trick used on a cane tip. The chair glides smoothly across the floor instead of catching, scraping, or leaving a mark behind. It's a simple fix that makes moving furniture around the house dramatically easier. Loop a shoelace through 2 chair backs to keep them from sliding apart. 2 chairs pushed together to make a temporary bed or resting spot have a habit of drifting apart the moment any weight shifts. Thread a shoelace or a length of cord through the back rails of both chairs and tie them together snugly. This keeps the chairs locked side by side instead of sliding apart at the worst possible moment. It's a small trick that makes a temporary setup feel far more stable and safe. Keep a bag of rice by the stove for a steady trivet. A hot pot set down on a bare counter can scorch the surface in seconds. Fill a small cloth bag with dry rice and keep it by the stove as a heat-safe trivet for setting down hot pots and pans, a habit Grandpa never once broke in 50 years of cooking. The rice shifts slightly to cushion and steady the pot, unlike a flat trivet that a rounded pot bottom can sometimes rock on. It's a simple fix using pantry staples that never wears out or needs replacing. Wedge a broomstick in the sliding door track. Every trick on this list is handy, but this last one matters most for anyone living alone. Cut a broomstick or a length of dowel to fit snugly inside the track of a sliding glass door or window. Even if the lock is forced, the stick physically blocks the door from sliding open at all. It's the same trick Grandpa used on every sliding door in the house, and it's still one of the cheapest, most effective locks there is. Which of these will you be trying out next? Let me know in the comment section down below.